Welcome in, you guys. This is Whisper to the Wild One, a podcast about reclaiming yourself and being everything that you want to be instead of stifling it. And I am Susie. I'm a therapist with Luminous Self
And I'm her
Therapy
co right. I
Coaching.
know we have a few bugs, guys, so just we're gonna work through this. But hi, I'm Marcus, the life advisor, life coach for Luminous Self as well. We'll be your guides through this journey.
So, we wanted to start out with just asking some basic questions so that you can get to know us as your host of this podcast.
Absolutely.
So, hey, Marcus.
That is such a layered question, and one we've asked ourselves a lot before pressing record, right? We've come up with so many names. This is like our fifth name I think we came up with. So maybe we should take you way back to the beginning, and just kind of like see why did you want to start a podcast to begin with as a therapist?
So, as a therapist, I don't always get the chance to tap into my more creative side, and I definitely um, was, I think, stifled a little bit growing up. Like, you definitely can't be the creator, you can't be the pop artist.
Right.
So, I wanted to start doing more work that allowed me to be creative and then encourage others to be creative as well.
That's true. Actually, to give you a bit of a backstory to our wild ones, uh, I'm obviously the creative one in the relationship, being in a band, being an artist. And then the first time I met Susie, my wife, I was like, I'm gonna be a rock star. She's like, No, you're not. That's not a real job. That is, you know, you don't do that. And I'm like, well, that's what I want to be. So, maybe that stemmed from that. I do see your creative side as well. And I'm glad that you're exploring it now because the you of 7 years ago would have said no to the wild one.
100% would have said no to the wild one. I remember that conversation like it was yesterday because I said, "Oh, let me guess. Your mom said you can be anything you want when you grow up, and you chose a rock
Absolutely.
star."
Yep.
So, and I was on the Scholastic track for air quotes real jobs.
And you know what? There's nothing wrong with having a real job, but again, if that's not what the real you wants to do, if that's not your wild one per se, then you're not doing what you want to do. And that's why again, we're talking about whispering to the wild one. What does your true self want to do? What is the true you? Let me ask you a question. When did you realize there was a wild one inside of you to say, the Scholastic track, great, but I want more. I want that wild one to come out.
I think for me, it probably didn't even come out until I left my corporate job and went full private practice because we went the scholastic track, we went the business track, we knew how to work in a corporate setting.
Right.
And tapping into a private practice meant that you had to bring yourself into it. And the analytical business person doesn't have a wild self. So I had to tap into that. But it's still growing for sure.
Right. It's a growth. It's in progress. So when we're talking to you, wild ones, we know that there's that little voice inside of you, and that it's not going to happen overnight. It's a work in progress. Just like Susie said, it's not gonna just spring up. So we want to take you through that journey with us here. That's what this podcast is about. Just to kind of give you again a little bit about my background. Why, again, I guess you could always say I was always had a wild one, but then there's times throughout my life where it was quieted. During high school, my parents, well, they said, yes, you could be what you want to be, but also go to school. Don't forget, go to school. Don't you want to be a doctor, but you could be whatever you want. So there was conflicting voices, and I'm not the only one out there. There's other people where it's like, yes, we support you, but, maybe just go to school just in case. So I get it. There's conflicting voices. We want to create this podcast to help you not hear the conflicting voice, but the true voice, the true you, the true wild one, who you are meant to be. So that's why we are starting this podcast. Again, we're new at this. This is our very first podcast. This is podcast one, episode one. So we're going to stumble, we're going to mess up, but you know what? We're on this journey together and we'll get through it together.
Absolutely. And I think that your creative energy, the artistic side of you, will definitely help me hear the whispers of my wild one more. And hopefully, together, we can help those listeners out there. We are going to very warmly and endearingly refer to you listeners as the wild ones.
You are welcome.
Um,
Yes.
yes. And we're hoping that you'll start to hear your wild one every day. But if not, we can at least start with each of these weekly episodes.
That's true. We got to start somewhere. So where should we take the? Where's the journey now? Again, this is the first episode, the first podcast. Where this is more of an introductory. We want you to kind of get to know us, know who we are, what we're passionate about, and just go from there. So guide us, Susie. Where's our next step in this first podcast? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to take us?
Absolutely. I think I want to ask you if, you mentioned that sometimes your wild one had to be quieted.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, what if the wild one wasn't too much, but like just enough for you? How would it bring you back to who you really are?
So. Again, the wild one is your true self. So it's if it's I think it's bringing you back to who you really are because there's so many we're complex as people. It's like we have different roles we're trying to play. We're trying to play the role of son, play the role of daughter, husband, sister. We're trying to play the role of, coworker, and I can go on and on and on. But again, the wild one often gets quieted because it's like, oh, I can't, I don't want to be, I can't be a rock star. That's not what society wants from me. That's not practical. That's a dreamer. You're the dreamer. And it's like, right, because our roles mute, they can. I'm not saying they do, but they can mute your wild one because you're so caught up in being the sister, the brother, the coworker, the perfect one. But again, once you are able to sit in a quiet room and listen, the wild one has always been there, wild ones, right? It's always been there. You just have to listen to it and slowly bring it out. Again, it's not going to happen over time, but for me, it's like, yes, I went to school. Yes, I got my degree, but there was always something inside of me because I joined it. Just to kind of give you background, I did join a band back in the day, but '99 with my buddy
Please don't
Shane.
date yourself.
Yeah, back in the day, oh, shake my fist at you. But I joined a band, and up until that point, I can tell you, I remember that day like it was yesterday. But up until that point, I was on the track to go to school. I was on track to be a professional in the industry. But when I went, and my first gig was with Shane Carlson, shout out if you're listening, Shane, at the Whiskey A Go Go. When that curtain opened and I had that mic in my hand, just everything stopped. Time stopped. And it just clicked. I said, "This is what I want to do for the rest of my life." And while that band it didn't work out, it's that voice never went away. So fine, the band didn't go out. So my parents said, "Hey, go to school then." Fine, I'll learn to do banking. I'll learn to do this. But that voice was always there. It was always like, man, don't you want to perform? Man, yes, I do. And so I ended up not giving up. I did a reunion show. We're working on things now. When we'll get more into my musical journey about what I'm doing now, because we are excited, I am excited to continue to do my music journey. So yes, I am listening to my wild one, but you just know that 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 voice, it just time stops and you feel this is it. This is what I want to do. And whether seems impossible, you just gotta take it a day at a time, right? You just gotta take it a day at a time and just continue to work on it. And that's something we'll kind of guide you through this journey. But I just want to let you know for me, it was I wanted to be that feeling of this is what I want to do, and it felt so right. And every time I'm on stage, even up till to this day, it feels great, and we're gonna continue doing that.
And I
So
think
again,
what's
let
like
Mhm.
absolutely beautiful like about your story is that you didn't have to fall apart to necessarily hear the whisper of your wild one, like that artistic side of you. And I think for me it took like having to fall apart to hear that whisper. And when we say whisper, we're talking a really light whisper, you guys.
Right, yes.
Um
But let me ask you a question. Do you think people need to fall apart before they can hear the whisper?
I don't think people need to, but I think if they're tapped into like a core belief that their wild one has to be quieted, the wild one is like too much or too loud, too distracting, then we've stifled it in such a way that I think that we can trap our wild one.
Right.
And then it sometimes takes falling down to like the basement floor to see like, wait, what's this locked door? What's happening? And then unlock the wild one from its hiding place. And I think that's kind of what happened for me when I left corporate. I definitely fell like all the way from like a high-rise building to the basement floor and found this little wild one hanging out, and we kind of launched from there. So they don't need to fall apart, but don't be afraid if you have to fall apart, because that's a part of your journey.
Right. But what if, let me ask you another question. Well, what if the wild one isn't too, what if the wild one isn't too much? What if it's just enough to bring us back to who we really are? And maybe you can elaborate on that a little more.
Yeah, I think we do so much work, especially like even though this isn't a therapy podcast, since I am a therapist, we know that there's a lot of research now out there and a lot of work being done on your inner child and the different parts of you. And I think when we tap into like that wild part, and knowing that it can be enough to bring us back into a homeostasis, it's the beauty that like you don't have to hide it and it can still be a part of you that allows you to grow into a new space and a new life that better serves you now.
See, and also too, we're gonna bring it back because again, you lost me on homeostasis with your fancy degree and like. So, what does that mean to the general ear? Because again, not all of us are smart therapists like you. So, what is like kind of get layman terms us on what does that mean?
Well, thanks, because sometimes I bring up other things that don't sound very smart at all. Shout out to a client who we used the word harvest and it was just very awkward. But homeostasis is kind of that baseline. Like, what is your equal footing, your stable foundation? And I
Mm.
think allowing your wild one to shine through gives you the opportunity to have a stable foundation or like that homeostasis, that
Right.
balance that you need, to be just enough of who you really are.
All right, and that's what we want to do in this podcast. And again, it's not just today. We're going to go on a journey after podcast, and we're going to be touching on different topics. You may be feeling different things on different topics, but we want you to engage with us, ask us questions. That's what we're here. That's why we wanted to make this podcast so we can reach out to people that are struggling, as we both have. Me, like you just heard both of our stories where we've lost ourselves in others people's expectations, but our wild one was quieted. But now it's like let's free the wild one. Let's free our inner selves, because that's who we truly are, and we're gonna continue to do that for ourselves, and we're gonna continue to help everyone out there see their true selves, one episode at a time, one conversation at a time. So it's gonna
And
happen.
a totally fun thing that we're going to be implementing too, just so you can see both of our sides. I
Right.
may use the bigger words. I may have the license here, but we're both fun. But I do think that, Marcus, I wanted to tap into just your musical styling, your artistic side. And so, just as like a little mid podcast heaviness conversation break, I wanted to ask if you could hit us with your musical muse of the week.
Yeah, so we're every podcast, and this is our very first one, so welcome, Wild Ones. Again, we appreciate you. Thank you for taking your time to be here with us. So this is going to be a weekly thing on our podcast, and I'll be leading it with you all since I am the musical guru here. It's going to be a musical muse of the week. So pretty much this week, pretty much what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick a song that I really inspires me, and and I'll kind of go into that. So the song that I picked today is one of my favorite songs that not just that I love to hear to listen to, but that I love to perform on stage, and that's Eminem "Lose Yourself." That song to me is so passionate and it talks to my wild one. Again, I get music subjective and rap may not be your thing. You may not like Eminem, whatever, but I'm not asking you to like this song specifically, but find something of a song that passion that makes you passionate and speaks to your wild one. So this is my muse, my first one, and Lose Yourself. The reason I pick it is because that third verse where he's saying, "Mom, this trailer's got to go. You know, I cannot grow old and Salem's lot. Here I go, it's my shot, feet fail me not. This may be the only opportunity I got." Right there. It's like I only have one shot at this, one opportunity. He says it at the beginning, "Mom spaghetti." We know the whole song, right? Um, but he's saying like I'm gonna here's my shot. My wild one is saying to go for this moment, to make this moment happen, to not ignore it, to put yourself out there. And yes, it may be uncomfortable. It may be hard. It's gonna be hard. You're gonna hit rejection. Like I said, my first band was 1999, like 20 years ago, and I'm still out here doing music. Have we made it big? The answer is not yet. The answer is not no. It's not yet. We are still in progress. We're still working on it. And this is my shot. This is my opportunity. And listen to the song if you do enjoy rap, right? And listen to that third verse. This is my shot. I'm not gonna throw it away. And just I'm gonna take this opportunity. I'm gonna run with it. And I'm gonna speak to my wild one, and just I'm gonna make my dreams come true, no matter how hard it is, no matter how many no's I get, no matter how many doors slam in my face. We are going to take that shot and keep moving forward. So that's my musical muse of this week. Listen to the song. If you're put some comments in the chat. Tell me if you like the song. Do you agree, or what's the song you would choose? We'll listen to it and we can bring it up on a future podcast. So that's my musical muse. Eminem, "Lose Yourself." And yeah, we'll talk about another song next week. But that was it for the musical muse of this week. For this week.
Thank you. Yeah, that song always does hit. And if any of you have had the opportunity to see Marcus perform that song live, he also knows how to just get the whole crowd going. We all feel like we can't miss that shot. And so, um, I think it's a great segue into just a little bit of a personal story.
Sure.
Just exactly like you said, we've hinted here and there of how we got to this spot. But for me, I think I got here when I kind of realized that corporate life wasn't serving me anymore, mostly because, you know, I wasn't serving the clients and the company didn't want me to serve the clients anymore. They wanted me to serve them as a corporate money-making business. And I remember talking to you like the night before everything
Right.
happened. And I said, I think this is it. This is going to be the moment in history, right? This is going to be the only opportunity I have to
Right.
speak up and keep attuned to my wild side or that wild one and who for me the wild one is very passionate about fighting for people and helping
Right.
people get what they need. And so I think that's when I started to listen to it. And January 2023 we launched a private practice, and then this year 2025 we rebranded. So
Do you
that's
want to give
how.
them the name?
Yeah, the new name is Luminous Self Therapy and Coaching. I kind of stumbled on it at the beginning of this podcast, but nerves aside, we are so excited to bring the light back to people. And then, Wild Whisper to the Wild One here, this podcast is a luminous self production. So we're excited to just tap in, and if we're getting good listenership and people who are wanting different sides of this, we can always tap in with different segments of our podcast. But we're really hoping to bring an opportunity of having everyone come together and share with us what you want to hear us talk about.
Absolutely. Like I said, Luminous Self is therapy and life coaching, which is what we are like. Susie's a therapist. I'm the life coach, life advisor. And also, to the podcast is just another platform to reach out to you guys, to let's like not be so formal with each other. Let's just talk. Let's just open it up and expand our audience. So we want to just reach as many people as we can and just try to heal, help people heal themselves, because we can't, help you talk to your wild one. We can help guide you, but you're going to have to do it, take those steps. We'll be with you step by step, but that's why we want to make this podcast so we can have a conversation. You can engage with us, we can engage with you, and instead of just seeing, you see Luminous Self on the webpage and it's a bunch of text, but you don't really get to talk to us. So here you get to talk to us, engage with us, and we look forward to being able to do that with you. Okay, so let's go on to the next topic. I think we're wrapping up our first podcast. Not too bad, right? So you guys, thank you for sticking in with us this long, and for those of you that didn't, well, hopefully we'll see you at the next one.
Yeah,
But what is our
hopefully we'll have a smoother go around on our next one. But
I
I
think we
think when
did great. I think we did great. I don't know. I think we're up there with all the top podcasts. So we're just gonna keep getting better. But that's just my rock star. Can't go
I
wrong.
that is definitely the rock star view. My analytical side says, "Oh my gosh, Crime Junkie is my number one podcast." Shout out to Crime Junkie and Ashley Flowers and Britt. But until we reach that level, I feel like we'll always be trying to push the wild one to that spot.
Absolutely. And again, like so. But that's what's great about this. We started a podcast. We didn't think we were going to do it. This is our first one. We're excited. Did we stumble? Sure. Did we mess up? Sure. But guess what? We're going to keep on doing it. We're going to get better and we're going to engage with you. We hope to get more of you to engage. So that's kind of what this first episode is talking about. Like it's not everything has to be perfect, despite what Susie has to say. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't you're going to mess up, you're going to stumble, you're going to fall, but the wild one inside of you is always going to guide you back to say, let's keep going. So that's kind of what I wanted to say on that part.
And I think that it brings us back to like just that longing, right? The
Mhm.
longing to hear our wild one, to be real, raw, reflective, and to have the kind of conversations we wish we could hear more often.
Yeah, and then not just coaching or just therapy, but also a bridge to the bridge between the two, right? For the dreamers, the feelers, the ones trying to stay soft in a hard world. It is a lot of times, you the world is it's a rough place. Things are rough right now. We all know things are rough. But again, don't lose yourself into what other people want you to be. Be true to yourself. Be true to your wild one. It's not easy, but we're here to just hammer that message. If the one thing you get from listening to our podcast is be true to your kind, loving self. Be true to that person because yes, the world can harden you, but stay soft, stay malleable, stay flexible, but stay true.
And I think that in the words of Eminem from our musical muse moment, lose yourself in the music, right? Lose
Yeah.
yourself in the wild one.
Yes.
And so, all of that to say is like, maybe that's our why, like, why we started this podcast, why we're fumbling through this first introduction, but really hoping to make it big. We want to whisper to that wild one out there, whisper to your wild one, remind you that you're not lost. You're just coming home, and
Absolutely.
that home is here.
Absolutely. And then we're going to be delving into specific topics. So, we're going to have specific, not training, but just exercises per se, right? And different, um, guiding you through different ways to touch your wild one, to speak to your wild one, to bring it out, to keep it out. So, with that being said, we want to leave you always with this. Welcome home, wild one.
Welcome home.
Welcome home.